Good morning. This is the August 24th meeting of the Community Preservation Committee, and it is 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's being held by via Zoom. Welcome, everybody, and I want to particularly welcome Barbara Carboni. Barbara, so the Select Board assigned the liaison for all of the committees, to the committees in town. And we were fortunate to get Barbara. So
thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Barbara,
yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you,
Barbara. Barbara, I have to say just quickly, thank you for being the liaison to the planning board as well as the CPC.
Oh, am I?
I think you are.
I hope so.
I think maybe you were just at the meeting the other day. But
Oh, okay. I'll look into it. But
Anyway,
I'm delighted
either
to be
way,
here.
it's good that you're here.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
I think we'll just take a minute to introduce ourselves to Barbara, and maybe Barbara can introduce herself
Sure.
to us. So Barbara, do you want to start?
Sure. So I'm Barbara Carboni. I am the most junior select board member. The select board has started this program of liaisons to different committees in town, and I'm very pleased to be at this one because my background is as a planner and municipal attorney. So I currently work for the town of Truro as town planner and land use council. I only recently moved out here full time, and I just could not be happier. Thank you.
Well, welcome, Barbara, and certainly, your background and skills will be well used on this committee. So
Great, thank you. Thank
feel
you.
free to jump in anytime. So I'm
Thank you.
Gary Sorkin. I am the chair of the Community Preservation Committee, and I represent the local housing partnership. Shall we just go? My screen is in order. Jan, you're muted.
I am Jan Plowey. I am the vice chair of CPC.
And a member at large.
Yes, a member at large, right?
Excellent.
Until next year.
Well, we think of CPC as being for a lifetime.
Perpetual. I know I've been on since 2005 when it was instigated. So I am an original member of the CPC. As Elaine is, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah,
That says something about our committee, I think. So,
We're the Supremes.
right. Fred, go ahead.
Fred Streams from the Open Space Committee. I replaced Bob Jackson, who I think was a longtime member, last year. And so looking forward to the second year.
Very good. Jim?
Jim McAuliffe, I'm the Historical Commission representative.
Thank you, Jim. David?
David Mead Fox, I am the planning board representative. And Barbara, I just remembered I was
Yes.
mixed up. You, I think, were at the Energy and Climate Action Committee.
Yes,
meeting.
that's correct.
And that's what
correct.
I'm on that
Got
as
it.
well. And that's what I was thinking.
Yes, of
So
course.
Good to see you on both things.
Great, thank you.
Elaine?
Good morning, Elaine McElroy. I'm chair of the Wellfleet Housing Authority and the representative to the CPC from the Housing Authority.
Thank you so much. Michael?
Yes, I'm representing the Conservation Commission on the committee.
Thank you, Michael. And Geraldine?
Hi, I'm Geraldine Raymer, and I was originally on this commission because as a representative of the Historical Commission, and then I became a member at large.
Super. Well, thank you, Geraldine. Okay, so I think we'll go on to the order of business today, but welcome, Barbara. The first order of business is the minutes of the meeting of August 4th. You have had a chance to look at them. If you like, I'll put them on the screen if there are any questions.
Move we accept them as very well done, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Second, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. They've been moved and seconded. Are there any other comments, suggestions, edits that we need to make? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? and any abstentions. I'm going to, at this time, recognize Rich Waldo has joined us. And Rich is the new town manager. Well, I don't know when does the new go away? I don't know, Rich.
Well, the official title is town administrator.
Town administrator.
Exactly. I mean, they do get used interchangeably sometimes, but it officially is town administrator.
So
Welcome. Nice to meet everyone. I'm happy to join you guys this morning. I'm hoping that any questions on the financials and stuff like that, Gary will be able to speak to because of our conversation and our meeting yesterday. And Gary is very well versed and eloquent in his speaking, and I think he could probably explain it a lot better than I. But either way, nice to meet you guys. And if you don't mind, I'm going to listen in for a little bit.
great, Rich. Welcome to our meeting. I was thinking 2 months in Wellfleet is like a year in somewhere else. So we certainly appreciate having you. Okay, so then the next order of business is a discussion of the finances of the CPC. And I'm going to put something up on the screen that Mary sent you yesterday, which was, as Rich indicated, we met with the accounting folks, Rich and the accounting folks, yesterday, Mary and I, to go over the outstanding CPA balances. So let me get to my desktop and I will put up, I think it's this one. Can you all see that?
Not yet.
Yeah,
Oh, all right. Maybe I have to start with sharing screen.
That helps, I think.
I think so too. Share screen. Okay, now. One of these.
There we go.
Okay,
You?
you
Yep,
got it?
yep.
Yep.
Okay, so hang with me. It is a complex discussion, guys, and feel free to jump in at any time. CPC and CPA funding started in 2005. So over here, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so over here on the left-hand side, what we have is, this is the amount that we reported to the state for both the local surcharge and the amount of the state match or distribution. So total CPA receipts in 2005 were $290,000. Everybody with us?
Yes.
Okay, and then for the life of the program down to 2023, which is the estimated receipts for the current year. Obviously, we don't know what the reality was, but we do know that it's pretty consistent from 2001, 2002, et cetera. So the key number here is that $12.2 million in CPA funding has been generated by the town, including both local receipts and the state match. Okay. So on the right side of the screen is Mary went through and we looked at all of the grants since the beginning of the program in 2005, plus the amount that went into administration, which I note in 2005 was $112. But be that as it may, these are all the money that we have essentially spent or put into reserves. And the key over here, the only money that we really have that is substantial in reserves that is unspent is the open space money that is being now accumulated, because this was the land bank. And so for many years, it was this column that was being paid out of CPA, as well as a couple of grants. And they finally paid off that loan in 2022. So we began to accumulate money in the open space reserves. So if we take all the money received and all the money spent, we think that the amount is 1,656,000 or so in unspent CPA money, plus 119,000, which is these columns here of the open space reserve. If you look at both historic and housing, they have far exceeded the 10% set aside for their program. Okay, so that gives us a total of 1.7 million, approximately. And guys, these are the numbers we reported to the state. We don't know if the actual numbers were off by a little bit, but they're not off by an order of magnitude. Okay?
Right.
Yep.
So we received from the accounting department, I'd say Lisa, but many people I think probably worked on it, but we received an email from Lisa in the accounting department that said the balance that we had available was actually her original number was 683,000, but we actually did, you see this green box here, we found an error on the open space debt service that changed that number to 119,000 up here. So the total that she showed was 653,000, and we all said, right, we have more money than that. And it turns out that that accounting was only for the years FY20 to FY23.
Okay.
Okay, so, and if we look at our numbers, we're really in the same ballpark. Look down here and you'll see that our accounting is 670, and her original accounting was closer, and other than that correction, but even so, it's, you know, we're pretty close.
Mhm.
Again, there could be differences in how much was actually collected. It could be the difference between taking the actual versus the estimated on the administration side. So those are relatively minor. So now we get to, well, we show 1.7 million as total outstanding, but that's from the beginning of time,
Right.
2005. So we think there should be something on the order of 1.1 million in CPA funds that are in the town accounts and that should be added to the either of these figures.
Right.
To give us approximately 1.7 million in total outstanding CPA funds. And some of it, there may be some that are in reserves for open space and housing and historic that have been accumulated over the years. But the net in terms of the total, we think should be approximately 1.7 million.
Correct.
And so that's what we discussed with Rich and the accounting folks yesterday. And we said, we'll go back and see what your numbers show. And we were somewhat encouraged that there was a report, it seemed to be a report, that said that entering this period, FY20, that there was about $1 million.
Good.
So we're waiting. You can imagine the number of transactions since 2005 for CPA that have to be reconciled. So it may take some time, but we think that in terms of both the current town meeting, we should use the numbers that we have available to us with some certainty. And it's if that changes substantially, we may call you back, but we're assuming that is not the case, but we should have something on the order of 1.7 million available for our October 15th grant round, plus the FY24 anticipated receipts for both the local and the state match.
Beautiful.
So something, let's call it on the order of $2 million.
So, Gary,
Yeah, go ahead, David. I know it's complex.
a quick question, a basic one. So the numbers on a page are always one thing, and the other thing is the reality of the money itself being somewhere.
Right.
Do we have any sense of, is this money in an account somewhere?
David, I don't know that I can answer that per se. What I can tell you is we had discussed this, and I sent a message to Rich requesting his help with the accounting. And one of the things that we had in question was, there is an account with, see this number of $4 million for the state match?
Mhm.
Well, if you take off the FY23 estimated,
Mhm.
there is an account in the town that suggests that maybe they have been accruing the state match in an actual bank account and not actually applying it to the grants. So there's an account there with $3+ million in it. And so to compound the complexity of this,
Yeah.
if in fact town funds were used to pay for CPA activities, then we'll have to go back and reconcile that, come to a conclusion as to that money in the bank account, as you say, David.
Yeah, okay. So that could mean that there's as much as 2 million or so, let's say, that was paid from somewhere else to cover the CPA grants.
That could well be. Again,
Right.
David, I don't want to speculate until we get
Right,
the actual
right.
data. And
Right.
I have to say, everybody on the accounting side, Cameron Scott and Nick Robinson, is it? And Lisa were very receptive to the discussion. And, as I said before in this committee, we are the town and that they are the town. So we're
Right.
on the same
We-
side on this.
But we know that these funds were actually paid out because they went for specific purposes to
Right.
Green D. So that's one thing we do know with clarity. We may not know where the money came from to do that exactly.
Exactly right. We can't, and to go back through, now 17 years worth of auditing reports.
Yeah.
And the auditors don't actually test every item, they only test samples. So even that doesn't represent a true accounting of it. So, but we will get to a number that we and the town accounting can agree to, but I think it's probably not going to be an order of magnitude different. I think that's really the message here, is that we're close to being on the same page.
So,
Yeah. And
just
now,
to finish the one thing, Gary, so it sounds like that town account that had the state distribution is, some of that is going to be remaining for our use of 1.7 or whatever the number is, and some of it will probably go away to repay some other town accounts that were used to pay our grants.
I think you're likely true, but again, I don't want
No,
to.
I know we don't know for sure.
Right, I don't want to speculate, David. on-
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to get an idea of the concept anyway.
Yeah. And David, just to further confound things, there are two other issues. One is that there is interest earned over the years that probably would apply to us, and there are grants in which all the money wasn't spent. So there are some balances that probably need to be resolved. We did briefly touch on the idea that in the spring of 2023 town meeting, we may put forward a CPA article that cleans up all the old outstanding.
Balances.
Yeah.
That
exactly.
would be really wonderful to get.
Right, so
have
we could
a fresh
then-
start.
Exactly right. We could all agree that here's the number that we're starting with going forward, and let's keep the records accurately.
Yeah.
Up until then. So that is this look at the total accounting. Any other, it's again, I apologize. Any other questions on this?
I just go,
Wait, David, let's, Jen, you had a comment?
I will just that I am so relieved, because last time we just did not understand where the numbers, what they reflected. And now it's just so obvious that everything will be fine. And as I've always maintained, we do have money. I kept saying that to the FinCom and everybody else, and nobody would believe it, but we do have the money, and I'm so glad. It means good things in the future for people who have projects that need our help.
Right.
So,
And there are some big projects on the horizon, but
sure.
let's not get ahead of ourselves. And let's say that this is a discussion. Okay, it's not a fait accompli, and let's wait to see what accounting comes back with in terms of their reading of the situation. But this is what we presented to them. Let me focus you now on the lower left side of the spreadsheet. So this was the accounting, slightly corrected for the open space amount that we received prior to our consideration of the Maurice's request. And so what this says is that we have in money that we can identify in our wallet, in our CPA wallet right now, we have $144,000 in the fund balance. That is the amount of money that we have that isn't a part of open space housing or historic reserves. And we have $41,000 in the housing fund that hasn't been spent, according to the reading from FY20 to FY23. So that gives us 144 plus 41 gives us the 186,000 that will lead us into the Maurice's town meeting recommendation. But before I go there, Rich, anything you want to add to this?
No, I think the only thing that I just want to say is that, you know, after yesterday's discussion, I will say that I was confident in the finance team that we understand the problem. They right after the meeting set charge right to try to uncover some of these issues. We were hopeful that we were going to have some more answers for you today, but they just got bogged down with other work as typical. So, you know, in terms of everything that Gary says, it's pretty much spot on. And, you know, we hope going into town meeting, we'll have a little more clarity on what that balance is and give a little more flexibility should you guys want to support Maurice's or not, in a little more of a factor. So that's pretty much it, Gary.
Okay, thank you. And I would say to add to what Rich said is that the folks that are on the accounting team now are all they bear none of the responsibility for the past, and they're wading through trying to correct it. So I have a lot of confidence in them as well. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this. Any other questions on the finances at this point? Otherwise, I'll move to the town meeting. Great. So the next order of business is the actual town meeting vote. Can you see this on the screen now?
No, not yet.
No,
So I have to share my screen again, I think. No,
You have to take away the accounting.
the accounting isn't closed.
It isn't closed.
Thank you.
It sort of faded, Gary, and then came back on.
Okay. Is it gone?
Sometimes you might need
Nope.
to unshare.
No, it's still there.
You think I have to unshare and then share again?
Yeah,
would-
sometimes that works.
Yep, do that.
All right. Let's see if I can do this.
Yeah, stop screen sharing.
Yeah.
Should be up top in the middle.
How about now?
There you go.
Good,
Yes.
you did
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the town meeting vote. excuse me, this is the town meeting warrant recommendation for CPA for Maurice's. And so the important thing here is the figures that I previously discussed with you, that some of you may have questioned, where did these come from in the actual language? So the 41,000 is the amount in the housing, and the 144 is the unrestricted reserves that we have in hand today in the wallet that we can apply to the Maurice's. So that total, as I say, is 186,000. Amount. I'm sorry?
Gary, I got a question.
Sure, David.
I just wondered about the 1,050,000 number.
Right,
I know that was the estimate.
Right, I'm going back to that, David. Let me
Okay.
let me go back. This million, so for those of you who recall, the original valuation for the property, we are restricting 3 acres of the 21 acres. And so that total is based upon a guesstimate of what the appraisers would say is the value of those 3 acres. So 350,000 an acre gave us 1,050,000.
Right, I understand. I understand that, Gary. My question was different, which is, excuse me, there was a assessed value that came out recently that was considerably lower than that. That was my question. What about that?
Okay, so let me walk you through what in terms of the money. So the appraisal, excuse me, the warrant article would be 186,000 of current funds plus the balance to be encumbered in terms of a bond support. And the question is, what's the starting number? If it's not 1,050,000. So I want to applaud Rich for an interesting idea. We did get an appraisal back from a commercial appraiser that gave us a valuation that was considerably below the 1,050,000, and that was 645,000.
Right.
I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to put up a different document. So did a new one come up?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mhm.
Okay, so here's the evaluation was a 45-page document, but at the end it concluded that the value of the land was actually 825,000.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
And that was reduced by a number of commercial factors to sell the land. So none of those factors actually could apply, since the deed restriction prohibits us from selling the land, as well as some of those costs the town would not incur since it's a municipality. So the question became, can we use a higher estimate, the estimate that doesn't take into consideration the commercial costs?
sure.
So we're assuming that the valuation that we can use is the 645,000. If it turns out that we can use the higher amount, which would allow us to apply more money to the funding of the bond from 645 to 825, we will do that. But as of now, the answer to the question is this top number of 1,050,000 is now 645,000.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if let's see, I have to stop sharing again and open yet another document. So if in fact, this is the softest. does this show my screen is showing a different document. Do you see the cost of the bond?
Yes,
Yes.
So if we were, can I close this and see that myself? There it is. I'm truly working.
blind.
Okay, so folks, this says that if we give them 186,000 in an outright grant and the valuation is 645,000, then the amount to be financed over a 30-year loan is $458,000. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, so if you look at this column, which is the net CPA debt service, this is just like the land bank. Every year over the life of the bond, we would pay a descending amount, but that 458,000 would actually cost us 779,000.
Mhm.
So it's pretty heavy, even at a relatively low interest rate of 4.5%, there's a pretty heavy price to pay. That's why if we can increase the amount of the outright grant, it's good for the CPA and good for the town. So we would reduce the borrowing costs associated with that. So if you look down here, that's roughly $25,000 a year that CPA would pay towards the bond for Maurice's purchase that we would authorize in the town warrant.
Right.
Okay. If it's the higher amount, if it's not the 645, but we can get approval for the 825, it would go up by approximately $10,000 to $12,000 a year. So the important thing, so let's say it would go from $25,000 a year to approximately $37,000 a year.
Wow.
Higher amount.
Mm.
What's important to know about this figure is that it's well below the 10% set aside for housing that we would be obligated to use every year. So we're, if you will, within budget.
Right.
The other thing to remember is that the only money we commit to the bond is money from the local override, the 3%, not any of the state match money. So we raise on the order of $500,000 to $600,000 a year. So 10%, 50,000. So we're still well within our parameters on this. So it won't, I don't believe in future years it should be a burden on CPA to fund this bond. A lot of numbers there. So anybody have any questions on that? So this will what it would cost us in an outright grant plus the bond support for 30 years at roughly $450,000.
Yes, Gary,
Yeah,
can we use the state money if we just gave the whole thing at the beginning?
yes, we can't use state. The reason being, Michael, is that we are committed. The state is a fluctuating amount, and it may or may not be there in the future. Whereas the town override is something that we get every year regardless. So from the bond issuer's perspective and the bond borrowers, the people who are paying for the bond, they can be more assured of that money.
Gary?
Yes, David.
Yeah, in a similar vein, I was thinking about how we could lower the debt service, of course, and depending on the financing calculations, sorry, could we pay the full 650 if and do that in time for town meeting?
You know, it's an interesting question, David. I think the question is, I don't believe we could increase the amount, but the amount is $1,050,000, so we have no problem with that. Can we change the mix of outright grant and bond support? That's really the question.
Right,
And-
right. Yeah.
And I believe the answer to that question is yes, David. And if we get something back from accounting significantly prior to town meeting, then I think we might call another meeting of the CPC to consider a different mix.
Okay, great.
But we will, we're really downstream from that. We don't know
Yeah,
at
okay.
this point, but
We'll
yes,
wait.
I think it would be in everybody's best interest, the town and the CPA, if we can increase that amount and reduce the amount of bond support.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions on the bond piece of this? Okay, so I'm going to take this down. So now the question is, we have the warrant article, we have the 186 plus the bond support. It says $1,050,000, but we actually know that to date, the only number we have is the appraisal value of $645,000. So the bond support would be on the order of $460,000 that we're committing to. So we need to do two things if we're interested in supporting the Maurice's recommendation. We need to amend our motion, and then we need to vote on the recommendation for town meeting.
Right.
Everybody with me on that? Okay, so I'm going to put up the minutes that actually had the motion that we approved for the town meeting.
I moved that, yes.
Yes, you in fact did that, and let me do screen sharing again. See if I can find this. CPC minutes. Okay, here it is. No, that's not it. Here it is. Everybody see that in blue?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the motion that Jan made that we approved on July 20th for the application for Maurice's CPA grant. And what we have to change there is since we're giving out $186,000, which we didn't know at the time,
Right.
in an outright grant. See the last line there? It says, the Community Preservation Fund shall not exceed $125,000
Oh, yeah.
in any subsequent fiscal year. I think would take care of the change there. So read this over. And if everyone is comfortable with what it says now, and again, we can't officially change the $1,050,000 at this point in terms of the valuation until the town accepts the appraisal, whatever that amount may be. So the upper limit is still $1,050,000, but we have to change this 125 to apply to subsequent years.
Well, in fact, Gary, I noticed on the warrant article that sentence is not included.
Well, I'm not talking right now. I'm not talking about the warrant article, but
Oh, just this, okay.
What the CPA is actually saying.
Right,
So
okay,
we had a limit placed on it,
yeah,
rightly so. But I don't have any problem with the limit, but
right, right,
it no longer applies to the first year.
okay. So, we
I'd like
have
to-
I
amend,
have another little amendment. I'm the one that insisted on map and parcel number, but the map is 47.
47, I'm sorry, thank you.
Another little amendment there.
Great. So up here where it says map 40, should be map 47. Thank you, Mary, for catching that. Okay, so I would if that's the will of the committee, I would entertain a motion to amend the motion of 720 to support the Maurice's grant.
I move that we amend the motion of 720 to say map 47 instead of 40, still parcel 23. And in the final sentence, shall not exceed $125,000 in any subsequent fiscal year.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you, Elaine. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion regarding this?
I just have one, wait a minute.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I just have one thing. I certainly support this, but it also leaves still open the possibility of an additional meeting and changing it yet again.
Exactly right.
Correct. Okay,
Right.
as long as we're clear about that.
Right. I think we'd have to get a rule. Maybe we'll ask Barbara for her guidance on this, but whether we can change the mix of if it's already been printed in the warrant. But this is
We wouldn't need to change the motion from July, though. If we change things on the warrant article, we're still in place because of the motion that we have from the July meeting.
as I read it, I think you are correct, Jane.
Can't we make changes on the floor?
Yes.
Committee?
Honestly, David, but that would mean a vote on the changes. It's a complex process. We'd much rather do it before town meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Report it. But okay, so are there other questions regarding this motion? Comments? Then I think we need a roll call vote on this. So I'll just do it at the top of my screen. Jan?
Yes.
Aye. David?
Aye.
Aye.
Elaine?
aye.
Fred?
I don't think I can vote today because of,
Oh, all right. Thank you, Fred. Jim?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Geraldine?
Aye.
Thank you. Just as a comment, the town clerk decided that even though you're a representative from another committee, you need to be sworn in before you can vote. And so Fred has to go to town hall and actually get sworn in. Okay, so the vote is unanimous and we have made that change. Now,
Did you vote, Gary?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the chair votes aye. Thank you very much, Mary, for catching that. All right, the chair votes aye. Rich, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify this. So we still are looking to go back to town council to see if we can increase the motion
Are you on the meeting with Gary?
Yeah.
Okay.
to use a larger amount from undesignated
All
reserve.
the presses. Nick is here with a number. Nick just arrived with a number.
So we have entered all the
Yeah, let me
hi.
Yeah.
Hi, we've entered all the FY23 numbers, brought forward the FY22s, and everything pretty much matches Lisa's email. But we found where the missing money is. On Lisa's email, when it was retyped into the spreadsheet, the budget reserves was typed in as 76,851. It should have been 706,851. It's a typo.
Ah,
And that's roughly the 646, 650 that Gary was talking about in yesterday's meeting. That-
Yay.
So that's what you have in the budget reserve is 706,851. And we've proven the numbers against the accounting system, just finished.
so
Thank you.
are you saying, Nick, just so I understand this correctly, give me the number again, 706?
Yeah, 706,851.
And then is there also the 144,617 in the fund balance available?
Yes, that number is correct on the spreadsheet and proven.
Okay, so I'll defer to you in accounting. The total available that we have is
Oh, I did not,
850.
I was so excited. I ran up here. I didn't add it together, but if you can bring up your spreadsheet, Gary, and just put a 0 in that 706, you'll get the new.
Right, so
total.
I'm just, maybe other people can.
All the numbers are correct except that last one under budget reserves.
So,
So all the other numbers are correct. So fund balance 144,617. I don't have a calculator on me. Open space 149,993. Housing fund 41,417. Historic fund 270,722. And then the budget reserves. Oh, Mary has a calculator. Here we go.
well, I have 851,468. But I'm a little, Nick,
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. So for everybody's benefit, I don't see you here, Nick, but.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little off screen.
Oh, all right. Where it says.
Maybe I'm
Mary-
on screen now.
No, you're on screen. This is Nick Robertson, and he is the town accountant. Welcome, first of all, to the CPA.
Yeah, sorry to crash the party here.
No, that's all right.
I'm trying to get this number.
Nick, the two accounts that we were told we could apply to the Maurices were the fund balance and the housing balance. So even though the budget reserves number increased, can we apply that number to the Maurice's purchase? That's the question I have.
I have not seen the final warrant. I don't know how it's worded. If it's worded that the money from the CPA is coming from additional money and or funding can come from fund balance and the housing fund, then yes, you are just working with the 144,617. So you're working with about 185,000.
You're right, 186. So,
But I mean, the budget reserves is something that I'm gathering, depending on that you could present as conversational, not as an actual amendment, because it probably would change scope, but that would be a question for KP Law.
Right.
You know, if you do have the budget reserves, that could be something on the town meeting, should the committee vote for it, that, you know, you're willing to use, you know, 500,000 of the budget reserves towards pay down or principal or something. But you would have to specify for the town meeting vote that would be coming from the budget reserves. That's for the town meeting vote. I don't know if there's any other state or bylaw regulations, actual like committee bylaw regulations that would prevent you using budget reserves for a project like that. I'm not familiar enough with you know, that sort of thing to know. That would be something you guys would better know.
yeah, so let me, for everyone's, so we all have a clear understanding. The two accounting lines that are in the warrant, one is the fund balance, which if you look on your spreadsheet that we sent, that's the 144,000 under what it says is Lisa's email. And the second is the housing fund balance. So what Nick is saying is that the line that says budget reserves is the one where there was a substantial change. But unfortunately, neither that line is not in the town warrant. So I think I have to defer to Rich now to check with town council whether or not we can make a change of that magnitude, draw from another line item to fund this.
Yeah, that would definitely be a KP Law question.
Probably gonna be a mix of KP Law and bond counsel. I'll ask them both.
Yeah, and
Sure,
bond
sure.
counsel.
To just weigh in. Or at least we have some clarity, the numbers.
Right. The good news is, right, we're a lot closer to getting to the number we thought. So that's great. So Rich, I'm gonna proceed today as if we have the 186. If you find that it's changes and we have enough time, we'll call another meeting and consider any changes. Does that make sense for everyone?
Is it also not true, Gary, that should we bond the way we have intended to
I'm
do?
going to excuse myself.
Nick, thank you so much for that. I much appreciate it. I'm sure you guys are burning the midnight oil on that. Thank you again.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you, everybody. Have a good-
Okay,
That we can
Thanks,
then
Gary.
prepay that bond early if we want? No, okay. So
It
we don't
doesn't-
have to do it now or not?
that's the news. Actually, Jan, let me stop myself and say, generally speaking, you can't prepay a municipal bond because the lenders have made their commitment and they're expecting a certain
They
return.
want that interest.
Exactly right. But it's like the prepayment penalty on mortgages.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
But,
okay.
but the question I would have is, what can the CPA
Mm.
prepay its obligation and would it be reduced? I don't know is the answer to that question, but I mean, that's a fairly complex question that we can ask down the road. But at this point, I think that the only thing we know for sure is that we have a fund balance of 144 and that we have a housing reserve of 41 that we can apply to this upfront. And if that changes, we'll deal with that.
We also do know, Gary, that if we had had this number much earlier,
Right.
then we could have put more of that money in, or maybe even not had to have any kind of a
Right.
bond. So, the process we have to remember is that that's what the reserves are for, to pay for projects. So, it might be too late now, but, and it doesn't matter in the big picture because we're going to have other big projects. We're going to need money and you pay for one or you pay for the other. You can't pay for them all.
Right. And I think Jan touches on something that we have to consider, that the money we grant today is money we won't have available for projects in the future. I actually just got an email about the school playground. That we gave a considerable amount of money that we may not have had this year. So, we have to be, we have to manage our money and our expectations. But I don't understand, maybe, I don't know if, Rich, you have it. Why couldn't we have included the budget reserves in the original motion? Is that money restricted for other uses?
I think that's one of the questions that I want to talk to Carolyn and bond counsel about. Is
Sure.
whether we can. I mean, historically, what has been the process for you to use those reserves?
Honestly, Rich, my understanding was that was the first money we wanted to spend. Is that, if I understand it correctly, those are monies from prior years not included in open space, historic, or housing that we had available to us.
Mhm.
So anyway, a complex question. Yes, Elaine, I'm sorry.
I'm just want to say that I think we would find that some of those budget reserves are for housing projects that have been stalled so long because of, I would say probably close to $500,000 might be those budget reserves that were voted for housing, but like the Habitat project and our money. So just,
Elaine,
mhm.
budget reserves are monies that we receive, but we have not, they're not unspent money.
Oh, okay.
They're
Right.
money that we haven't committed to a project yet.
Okay, great.
as
Good.
opposed
Just
to-
wanted to make sure.
Right. We previously touched on that. At some point, we're going to resolve all the unspent money
Mhm.
for CPA projects, but honestly, that's down the road.
Okay,
So for today's meeting, I think what we can go back to is we have approved a motion to apply 186,000 in current funds and to take on the debt service for the remainder of the project from $1,050,000, although the reality is it's likely to be 645,000 less the 186 or the 458 number, 458,000, and that was the $30,000 or $25,000 a year in bond support.
I don't think we voted the 186,000 yet, Gary.
I can't take it now. Did we not?
I don't think we voted to change our motion, but we had no specific number in our motion in July. The motion I just amended did not include $186,000 because we didn't know how much we were going to.
Right, the motion that we approved was 100 current grant and bond support for the remainder. We haven't specified the 186 or any amount, right? That really comes from accounting and that's the number that we had dealt with before, the 186.
But don't we have to vote that?
We don't have to specify it. We have, if my understanding, Jan, is that we have voted to put in some current money and accept some bond support. Since we don't know the $1,050,000 part of it yet, the appraisal, the final appraisal number, I don't think we can say what those numbers are. Those numbers came from the town, the 186, and those were incorporated into the warrant. So I don't think we have to have that in the motion, but if people have a different opinion, so be it. Okay, so we have moved and seconded and approved the amended motion. Now we have to consider our recommendation for town meeting of Article 7. Everybody with me on that? Okay, so now I will once again share screen, and I think I have the motion here somewhere. Where did I close it? Ah, here it is. Okay, so we need to vote on recommending or not Article 7 of the special town meeting of September 10th on the warrant. Is there someone who would like to move that? And that's this article in front of us today.
I move that.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'm gonna.
Gary, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
I was muted, sorry. Just a question about the amounts. Is there a place for the benefit of the public in this, on town meeting floor to say something in our remarks about the possible alteration in some of this in some way?
So you know what, David, and don't hold me to this, but my understanding is this goes out to folks as the warrant.
Right.
Then at town meeting, there is a motion and a motion book.
Right.
And I think it's that motion that is the critical piece. And so any changes would be incorporated into that motion, which would be made by the select board. Remember, this is a select board action that we are supporting.
Okay, so they could still, in the motion, put in the $650,000 amount and,
I'm only speculating, David, that they will have to come to resolution on the appraised value.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I just wanted to ask if it was possible to adjust.
Right, I believe the answer is yes, David, and I think that will come in the motion. And then if there are further changes, we could make something, move something from the floor. But again, that's a messy process.
Right.
So we'd rather take care of it beforehand.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions regarding Article 7? So it's been moved and seconded. So I'm going to make this again a roll call vote. And I'll simply take them in the order that I see them on the screen. And Fred, you are up. Oh, Fred, is this the, you have to defer, right?
Right.
I'm sorry. So Barbara, Michael, you're the next one.
Aye.
And Geraldine
Aye.
and Jan
Aye.
and Jim.
Aye.
And did I get everybody? Geraldine, Elaine,
Lane, I.
and Gary is aye.
And
Mary-
David is aye.
David is aye. Thank you very much. Okay, so it is unanimous in the vote. Are there any noes? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, everybody, for that. It's a complex process. So is there anything else on Maurice's that we need to discuss? Anything else? Okay, so shall we move on to the next order of business, which is membership terms? I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Mary, do you want to comment on this?
Well, I had checked with Jennifer Conjal, the town clerk, and it was Fred and Rhonda that needed to be sworn in. And I was not clear if that was for their respective committees as well as CPC, but I've notified both to speak to Jennifer and get that cleared up. Both terms ended in June of this year. And I thought she had reached out to everybody at that time, but those two are still out there.
So is there anything that we need to do today, Mary, on this?
Just Fred and Rhonda, when she gets back, need to get sworn in.
Okay. Now, it only takes 15 seconds to get sworn in. You sign your name and you raise your hand and say, I do. I think the last time I said I do, it was 50. Got me in
And
trouble
I
then.
guess she's
then.
the term, whether it's how many years it is. I think we're staggered on those terms. Or it's from their other committee.
Anything else on the terms? Mary?
Nope.
Okay, so the next item of business is the coordinator's position. I did have a brief conversation with Rich. This is it's actually, are you an employee of the town or are you?
I'm an employee of the town of Wellfleet and I'm an outside consultant in Truro in case you're trying to do a share
Okay.
or make a deal.
Okay, so I did have a brief conversation with Rich, and we agreed that after town meeting, we would get together and talk about the process of replacing Mary. Do we have to open a position and advertise for it and et cetera, as well as reach out to both. And I guess this is the question. Do we want to continue to share this with Truro? Anybody have any opinion about that? Seems
No,
like,
I'd be interested in what Mary thinks about the workload in doing so.
Oh, it's not a full-time job, which I couldn't do anyway as a retired teacher. But if it was a shared position with Truro, or I guess Gary was also thinking if Eastham were interested, it would be probably more hours total. And I don't know how you'd work it out with the towns, but Truro is definitely interested in case, you can come to some agreement.
and the other question that came up is, what is Eastham doing? And Mary looked into that briefly, and their town planner is their CPA administrator. So I don't know if they have any interest in doing something together, but we will look into that and reach out to both Eastham and Truro if that's the interest of the committee.
And I've put both towns on notice, but Truro said to actually give notice in January. I don't know if that suits you, or when I actually give notice.
It is not necessarily more attractive to have the other jobs. It depends entirely on the person. I mean, it might be somebody who can only handle our work and doesn't want to branch out. If we can't, more is not necessarily useful in this particular case. It's not like sharing a truck or a policeman or something, that's different.
And I don't know that if, like in Eastham, if there's somebody in the town that would do a good job.
Well, we don't have the planner that we've needed.
Right.
So,
We're not hiring a new assistant town administrator. So,
well.
but again, we're getting ahead of ourselves, and
Yeah,
right, we'll cross this bridge
right.
with after town meeting with Rich, and it is, after all, a town position.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about the coordinator's position? Yes, Elaine, you're muted.
I guess it's just interesting to know why Truro did it as a contract employee and Wellfleet did it as an employee, and what the benefits are or aren't.
Well,
No, I don't know. I guess I couldn't be an employee of the two towns at once.
Mhm.
I don't know why.
you
I
could-
decided that.
Did it benefit you, Mary, though, in terms of benefits by being?
Oh, I don't have benefits. My benefits come from my teaching. I don't
All
have
right.
any benefits. But that's okay with me. But
Mhm.
a future employee of Wellfleet would probably, I had benefits when I was committee secretary before I became just the CPC coordinator. So I would think it would be more attractive to a person as an employee of Wellfleet to have the other benefits, which are just vacation and sick days and holidays. I guess you have to pay into this OBRA thing, but I aged out of that.
Elaine, I think on this town warrant coming up on September 10th, there's a request to create a personnel position.
Human services, yeah.
Human services, and that would be a good question to ask if it passes, and if we hire someone, then it would be a good question to ask them. What are the relative benefits to each town? Okay. Anything else on the coroner's position? So anticipated applications, it's hard to believe, but in a little more than 7 weeks, we will be opening up another grant round. Do you have anything to add to this, Mary?
Well, we actually have the CGP one already for annual town meeting. And I believe that Orleans Cape Cod 5 was going to come back to us.
Okay.
I haven't
And
actually put out
Elaine,
big ads for the deadline yet.
Yeah.
do you have any to add for housing?
Not at the moment.
Oh, I
Okay,
thought you said Ted Malone was maybe going to be coming back for Payne Hollow. Not yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we don't know.
so for everybody's benefit, and including Barbara's, there are two large projects, one at 95 Lawrence, and the developer there is POA, and they are going through the permitting process. And once they have their permit, they can apply for funding, and that might include a request for CPA funding for that, very similar to the Cloverleaf project in size and scope. And the second one is one that we've had outstanding for 20 years, Elaine. Close to-
Yeah, Payne Hollow, the 8 apartments at Payne Hollow have, the cost of doing them has risen significantly over the years, and Ted Malone estimates the infrastructure needed to get started could be close to $1 million. So he did meet with Rich Waldo and Becky and myself to talk about potential MassWorks quote, now called one-stop applications, but you know, I really hope they might be looking at some of the ARPA funds too. ARPA, the next big ARPA round is all about housing and water quality. And the current round is $100,000 to $500,000. So I'm hoping our town will get together too and do a priority list of looking at ARPA priorities. So
Okay.
there's money out there to be had.
Anybody else representing any other group? See anything on the horizon, historic or open space, recreation isn't here. Will you, Mary, reach out to Becky and see if they have anything on the recreation horizon?
Yeah, she did talk about something over at that bandstand at the end of the pier at one time, but they deferred because of the schoolyard that's around. So I'll check with her.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to put forward at this time? Okay, so we've already welcomed our liaison. Thank you very much for being here, Barbara. An interesting first meeting.
Yes, I've already learned quite a bit.
Oh, well, terrific. Well, welcome aboard, and we look forward to having you with us for
Thank
many
you.
meetings.
Thank you.
Does
Okay.
Barbara have any questions that she might like to ask
Oh,
Gary?
good.
You're very kind. I want to digest a lot of what I heard, and I might have a follow-up question.
Sure.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure,
Okay.
Barbara, feel free to reach out to Mary and myself or whomever.
I shall. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome aboard. Any project concerns or updates?
I have nothing.
Anybody else? All right, so let's look at the calendar. I have a question here. Do you want to schedule a meeting? And if we have a change, we can make changes to that Maurice's allocation of funds. And if we don't need it, we will just cancel it. Does that make sense for folks?
Yes.
Yeah,
So remember that town meeting is on the 10th. If we have it, my calendar here hidden away.
The 7th of September?
Is that too late to do anything? That's right. That's really my question is, how late can we go?
Well, we can decide right up to town meeting, I think.
We could, yeah. Everybody confident about that? So what does Wednesday, September 7th in the morning look like for folks? Anybody have a conflict offhand?
Good with me.
I do.
Okay, Fred, do you want to look for either a different time or a different day?
Different day.
Okay, does Tuesday the 6th work for folks?
Yes.
It won't work for me because I'll be coming back from Vermont.
Okay.
yeah, it doesn't work for me at that time. I've got a medical appointment that morning.
Okay. So I don't want to sort of push it further on the 8th. We could either do it another time on the 6th. Is doing it later at the end of the day rather than the beginning of the day any value?
No good for me.
No, no good.
How
Right.
about the 31st of August? That's a
Hmm.
week from today.
Um,
Oh,
That's fine.
Mary?
Well, not me, because I'll be in Vermont. I'm going to Vermont for 10 days.
Okay. I understand they do have the internet in Vermont, but.
No, they don't up at Breadloaf. There's no Wi-Fi or cell service.
I stand
Wow.
corrected, Jody. Okay, sit corrected. Okay, so this is a little bit like herding cats. I think I'm going to go back and say if maybe we'll have to schedule it for the 7th, unless you want to look for another day. No? All right, so let's tentatively schedule a meeting for September 7th at 9 o'clock. If we don't have any action, we'll just cancel it. So let's pick the next meeting date after that. So do we need to have a meeting after town meeting? Mary? No? Yes?
it's up to you.
Well, what do people think? No? Yes?
No.
No, okay. So let's say our next meeting would be in October then.
Right.
Jan,
You
you're
could-
muted.
You could do it then after the
Right,
17th, when we would have the new applications.
right. So Wednesday, the 19th would be the next meeting if we don't have this extraordinary meeting on the 7th.
We used to say, Gary, that we met on the 4th Wednesday of every month. That was what we did for years. And then if we needed special meetings, we would fit them in accordingly. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't have any problem if people feel they prefer the 26th, which would be the 4th Wednesday in October rather than the 19th. Mary, is there any material difference?
The only thing, I thought the point of making the early deadline for applications, just get up and running as fast as possible, but 26 is fine too.
Okay.
Either one.
Either one? You know what, Jan, we'll have the applications in. We might as well give people time. So
Yeah.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. on the 19th, does that work for folks?
Yep.
Okay,
It's a little bit awkward because the Conservation Commission meets that morning for site visits, whereas the 4th
Oh,
Wednesday is better.
all right.
excellent. All right,
Let's
so
go
let's
with
go,
that then.
and let's go
go.
with the 26th.
All right.
Okay, so does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
That may have been why we originally did that.
I think it was. I think so.
Yeah,
It is. Thank you for bringing that up, Mike.
yeah.
Okay, so we have the 2 meeting dates.
And the 7th is mostly just
It's provisional. It's, if
provisional,
we
right?
need to make some changes for the motion at town meeting, we'll deal with that. If we don't, so be it.
Great.
Okay. All right, so does anyone have anything else? And I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, and thank you for all your good work.
You're more than welcome. Elaine, thank you all for your participation today. That it's complex issues. Barbara, welcome aboard. And I will take the vote as just all those in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you all once
Thank you,
again.
Gary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks.
I have to stop.
Oh, Gary, can you send me that spreadsheet of the bond schedule? I don't have that.
Sure, happy to, Mary.
Okay.
Anything else?
That was.
Rich, if you're still there, thank you so much for all the time today. Okay, I'm stopping the recording.
Yep.
Thank you.